While all of the Quinnipiac students are packing the bag for the hockey and basketball games, the men's soccer team has been flying under the radar. But not anymore, as they won the MAAC Championship over the weekend, and we will tell you how, here on Bobcat Breakdown, right now. Good evening and welcome to Bobcat Breakdown presented by the Quinnipiac Bobcat Sports Network. I'm your host Shane Doyle and we have a couple of new faces here with us tonight. First, Justin Cloutier. Justin, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Shane?
I'm doing good. And right next to him we got Tom Albanese. He's been waiting all semester to get on the show. Finally, he made it.
Good to see you, Shane.
You too. And last but not least, we got the volleyball extraordinaire, Morey Hershgordon. What's up, Morey?
Shane, always a pleasure.
Well, gentlemen, let's get it started. Most soccer games are 90 minutes, but for the Quinnipiac Bobcats, they played a pair of double overtime games with penalty kicks to advance to the NCAA tournament for the first time as a Division I program. On Friday night, they beat the Iona Gales, and in the championship, it was a battle of former NEC members as they beat the Monmouth Hawks. What was the key to the championship? We'll start with you, Tom.
Well, Shane, definitely the key to the game was the defense that the Bobcats had done the entire tournament in both games. Having a 1-1 tie going into penalty kicks against Iona and then 0-0 with Monmouth, right? And then obviously Bobcats ended up winning both games on the penalty kicks. But the defense that the team had played throughout the entire tournament was just unbelievable. And it was all led by Borja and Goita in goal. Really like shouting at his teammates, having that leadership, having that motivation that all of the defenders love on the team. It shows how he's really the leader on the team, and it shows how he ended up winning the most outstanding player in the MAAC tournament for all of his hard work and just two unbelievable performances that he had in both tournament games.
And Justin, what do you have to say? They bring it all the way to penalty kicks and they're able to convert both times.
I was really impressed. I was really impressed with Goita along with the penalty kicks. I thought he made, obviously he wasn't making many saves out there, but it's a penalty kick. Very tough to save. It's pretty much just suicide anyway, but for them to pull it out, congratulations to the men's soccer team, absolutely.
Shane, I thought it was how they dealt with adversity in both games. In the Iona game, they score 13 minutes into the game. They give up a goal with 4 minutes and 57 seconds left. They still keep it together. They play a strong couple overtimes, survive in penalty kicks. Now you go to the Monmouth game. They have a strong game, regulation, both overtimes. And then they have the upper hand in the beginning of the penalty kicks. Monmouth goalie makes an enormous save. Quinnipiac stays together, scores the next two goals, and they win the championship.
Yeah, and they win that championship. A lot of strong play, but especially you got that defense. You got Toby Esch back there. How important was that defense in front of Ngoita, Morey?
Defense was crucial. Coach Eric DaCosta was a 4-year starter here at Quinnipiac, played defense. He's trained them all year. They're 8-1-4 in their last 13 games, including the championship game. So they're riding high. Their defense is great, like you said, led by Toby Esch and Borja in net. Couldn't be any happier going into UConn.
And Morey, just something else to add to that with Borja's play. Borja even earned the the MAAC Goaltender of the Year award, something that Quinnipiac goalies usually don't win. You don't see it all the time, but Borja, what he's been able to do this season for the Bobcats, getting them the MAAC Championship, was just unbelievable performance by him, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, even especially after the surgery that he had to his face, they had to go under his eye. He's playing with a mask. When an attacker shoots, sometimes there's a little difference when the guy shoots and the goalie can't see it as well. But he's been playing great so far.
And just one other thing I want to throw out there as well. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but what I learned from the MAAC tournament through the penalty kicks, did any of you guys think that Borja Ngoita was a good penalty shooter? I didn't think so. And scoring those two goals starting the penalty kicks on both games, getting the first goal for the Bobcats, and then finishing both games with an amazing save on both attempts. Just a great job by Ngoita.
Yeah, and now they move on. They will go to UConn on Thursday. Do you think they have a shot to go to UConn and get a win, Justin?
Absolutely, they have a shot. I mean, look at the previous teams to win the Champions League. Very defensive-oriented. Chelsea beating Bayern Munich. And this is what Quinnipiac has. They have that goalie with the face mask like Peter Cech was to Chelsea. And I think they have a shot to beat UConn this week.
Shane, I don't know if they have a chance.
Why? Why not, Morey?
Well, UConn has won the NCAA tournament 4 times. Of the 12 players that have started double-digit games, 8 of them are juniors. In the past 2 years, UConn's been to the NCAA quarterfinals. They bring a ton of experience. They're at home. I think they take down the MAAC champions.
And Tom, what do you think? Morey over there, not too confident in these Bobcats.
You know, and Justin, I love your points that you made right there. But unfortunately, I have to agree with Morey on this one. Again, both of these teams come in really defensive-minded, and the way it looks right now, it looks like UConn's defense may be a bit slightly better than Quinnipiac's. Andre Blake, their goalie, will be coming into the game with a goals against average of 0.49. Borja Ngoita's goals against average is 0.63, obviously showing that Blake's is a lot better, obviously. And also another thing, UConn has only given up 9 goals this entire season in the 20 games that they've played. So they are a very, very defensive-oriented team, and they've scored 28 goals on the season compared to only 19 goals that Quinnipiac has scored. So obviously, even on the offensive end, it looks like it's slightly in UConn's favor. So I think Quinnipiac has come very far winning the MAAC tournament, but unfortunately, I see their season ending on Thursday, on the next game, against UConn.
Well, obviously, Connecticut they're a phenomenal team. Like Morey said, all those statistics, but I mean, Quinnipiac's defense, I'm saying upset in the air. It's definitely possible. Yeah,
we'll definitely be keeping an eye on the soccer team, but when we come back here on Bobcat Breakdown, we'll head up to the bank to see how Tom Moore and Trisha Fabry's teams are doing in the early season.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken with cheese for just over $4, giant cheesesteak subs, and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Q-Cash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney here at Ray and Mike's.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. The men's basketball team beat reigning America East champion Albany on Saturday by a score of 79-69. And now they sit at 2-1 in the young season. Who do you guys think has been the most impressive player thus far? We know we're only 3 games in, but Morey, who has stood out to you?
Shane, it's definitely got to be point guard Kasim Chandler off the bench. Spark off the bench, leads the team in the transition game. He finishes great at the rim. He's averaging 2 steals, 4 assists a game. Definitely numbers that are going to rise as the college game comes to second nature. He's especially improved in his turnovers. 4 in the first game against Hartford, 2 in the second game against LaSalle, and only 1 in the game against Albany on Saturday. Free throws, he shot 3 for 8 against Hartford, improved to 9 for 10 from the charity stripe against LaSalle. He's been the most impressive player so far. And these aren't just regular teams. LaSalle's a team who went to the Sweet 16 last year. Albany is a team who has been to the NCAA tournament for the past 3 years, and Hartford was 10-6, a solid team in the American East. So he's not just doing it against shabby teams.
And now we'll toss it over to Tom. What are you guys thinking over there for the most impressive player?
Well, Shane, I have to disagree with Morey. Again, I like Chandler and how he's done this season. But one thing you mentioned, Morey, was turnovers. He's still averaging 2 turnovers a game.
Hey, we're only 3 games in the season, Tom.
But Tom, with a 2-to-1 assist ratio, you can't beat that as a freshman only 3 games into your college
So, Tom,
career.
who would you say is yours?
Well, one thing that I've not seen from the men's basketball team in recent years was someone who really went out their way to be a leader on the team. And the one person that I'm looking at right now who I've been very impressed with this season is senior Ike Azentam, the forward. This player right now has been improving over the years in every statistical category. Was one of the Division I leaders last year in rebounding. And through the first 3 games this season, has an average of 8 rebounds a game, and leading the team right now, Justin, in 15 points per game as well. Ike Gazetan has been a reliable person for the Bobcats on every aspect of the game, and he's going to show his true leadership this year and help Quinnipiac succeed in the MAAC this year.
Tom, leadership's important, but it's really all about this up-and-coming player, Kasim Chandler. I mean, I'm seeing him play out there. He's lowering those turnover numbers already, and that's a great sign for a player that you're seeing that was already all MAAC Rookie of the Week, which is incredible for his first week already playing. And lowering those turnover numbers, keep getting points off the bench, and who knows what this player could do.
But let me bring something up real quick. These teams maybe don't have a scouting report on Kasim Chandler. You think that maybe it's just beginner's luck, Morey?
I don't think it's beginner's luck. The product out of Trenton, New Jersey, great basketball in the city, definitely a hard-nosed type of player, gets to the rim. And, you know, one thing I want to add, his turnovers are lowering as his minutes played per game are increasing. He's increased from 24 minutes to 29 minutes, so he's playing almost 75% of the game with his turnovers decreasing. I see it's a bright future for Kasim Chandler.
And now the Bobcats continue non-conference play as they host Hampton tomorrow night, but who do you guys see as an intriguing matchup coming up? We'll throw it over to Tom.
Well, Shane, definitely the one matchup that I see Quinnipiac having an interesting game against is going to be on December 29th when the Bobcats travel for their first Pac-12 game of the season against the Beavers of Oregon State. This is a team, Justin, that has a roster this year, so many tall players. Their smallest player right now is 6'1". Everyone else is taller than that. And Quinnipiac, I know Quinnipiac has been huge on the boards over the years, leading, like really one of the leaders in Division I over the last couple of seasons. That game is going to have them, give them a huge challenge on the boards. And both teams have great offensive talent as well. And for Quinnipiac, like I mentioned earlier, this is their first Pac-12 game in their Division I history. Facing a team from a conference like the Pac-12 with stellar competition going back to like Oregon State, Oregon, UCLA, just to name a few of them. This conference is going to be a huge test for the Bobcats, and can they win the game? We'll have to find out when the game happens right after Christmas.
I like your pick, Tom, but personally, I think this Lehigh team is something to prove this year. After beating Duke in the NCAA Championship 2 years ago, I want to see what this team with this head coach, Brad Davis, can still do.
But what about no C.J. McCollum? So you think Lehigh's still a potent threat?
Absolutely. I think this team, McCollum, showed the rest of this team leadership, and the rest of this team will continue to improve.
I have to disagree with both of those guys. Lehigh didn't even make the NCAA tournament last year, even regardless of a 21-10 record. Tom, a Pac-12 team, they'll blow the Bobcats right out of the gym. It's got to be the Vermont Catamounts. Vermont, 21 wins last year. The five seniors who played the most amount of minutes, 6'2", 6'4", 6'6", 6'7", and 6'8". When Albany went with their big lineup towards the end of the second half and they cut Quinnipiac's lead to 5 and 3 points respectively, Quinnipiac didn't know what to do. Burlington is always a tough place to play. The Catamounts are going to bring a big challenge to the Tom Moore squad.
But just to go back to your point there, Morey, when you look at a team like Oregon State, and I understand Vermont is a good team. They did well last season. Big deal, though. This Oregon State team.
I wouldn't say it's a big deal, Tom.
But I mean, but still, this Oregon State team has height that Quinnipiac is going to have to like reach all the way and try to grab those rebounds in order to succeed in the game. Oregon State's a very pivotal challenge for them. And Shane, the question in like really intriguing game that's on the schedule, definitely intriguing game could also mean the most challenging game for the Bobcats, and that's got to be against Oregon State.
Yeah, but Tom, Vermont poses the same threats as the Albany Great Danes. They're long, they're lanky. Tom, Albany shot 4 threes all game. We didn't have to close out. The Bobcats are facing the Catamounts who took 15 threes last game. Small guards, it's going to be tough to close out.
Some great theater, fellas, but the women's basketball team has been playing in the preseason WNIT. They beat North Carolina A&T in the first round, setting up a showdown with number 5 Louisville. Even though the Bobcats lost 100-82. They played the Cardinals even in the second half. In the third game, they lost a heartbreaker in overtime to UT Martin. A lot of national recognition recently for the Bobcats. What are your takeaways? We'll start over with Justin.
I really wasn't impressed with their effort they put out in the first half against Louisville. I thought they were going to be fired up coming out. Number 5 ranked. I mean, that's a big game on that schedule. Should be very disappointed that they didn't come out with a W.
Disappointed to lose to the number 5 team in the nation?
No way. Justin, no. Louisville upset Baylor and Brittany Griner last year to go to the Elite Eight and then eventually the Final Four. I don't see that. I see 3 players. Boo Abshire has increased her points per game from 5.3 to 14 points. Sam Guastella from 8.1 to 11 points a game. And Ostergaard off the bench from 5.3 to 11 points per game. You got to pick out the positives off a road trip, especially playing in the KFC Yum Center and at Tennessee Martin. You got to pull out positives and step forward. They're playing St. John's right now. We'll see how they fare.
Let Tom jump in here. What are you thinking over there?
Well, thanks, Shane. And Justin, I'm a little disappointed at what you said that you're not impressed with the team, and you only mentioned one game too, the Louisville game. But what about what they did against University of Tennessee Martin, and then the first game against North Carolina A&T?
North Carolina A&T was a very great effort. I have to give it to them.
Very great effort indeed. And when you come out and win against a team like that, and when you look at the number 5 team in Louisville in that game, Quinnipiac did stay with them for a good portion of the game until Louisville kind of took it in their own hands at the end of the game, defeating them 100-82. But Morey, I love those players you mentioned with Jasmine Martin. Boo Abshire in the game against Louisville and the game against Tennessee Martin, career high in both games, tied in 20 points each in both of those games. So Boo Abshire is really establishing herself as a player on the team alongside Jasmine Martin. And also, I love what you mentioned earlier about Nicolai Ostergaard. She's been doing very well as well. And also another player that you didn't mention, Samantha Guastella. She's also been showing presence on the team as well in having more than 10 points in each of the first 3 games.
Tom, I did mention Sam Guastella. She's improved her points from 8.1 points per game to 11 points per game. Shane, the rest of the non-conference schedule, I got to see Brittany McQueen step up. 8 points, 8 rebounds from your senior leader. She's got to improve those to double-double figures in both categories.
Well, they'll be going out to Missouri where she's from, so maybe that's where she can pick it up. Okay. But I think we are going to take a break here. If I told you a Quinnipiac hockey team beat Boston College and the University of New Hampshire in the same weekend, would you think it was the men's or the women's team? Well, if you stick around, we'll tell you which team did it and how.
The Bobcat Shop, located at 1010 Sherman Avenue in Hamden. Your #1 choice for Bobcat merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. Morgan Fritz Ward's goal in the second period was enough for the Bobcats to beat the University of New Hampshire on Saturday afternoon and earn a sweep of Hockey East foes. The Bobcats moved up in the rankings as they are now the number 5 team in the country. After this impressive weekend, do you think this team is for real, Justin?
Absolutely. How can you say they're not real? With Chelsea Layden in net, she gave up 13 goals in the past 14 games. That's an incredible stat. Watching this UNH game, I was impressed by their effort. All 4 lines going out there with moving Cheyenne Darkangelo up to the first line with Babstock on the wing. That's going to help this team immensely in these upcoming games.
And Tom, what are your thoughts on this team in the early season?
I love Justin's points and how the team is really built right now, moving up to the 5th best team in the nation right now in the latest USCHO.com poll. This team, Shane, definitely is for real with a record of 10-1-3 right now.
Why are they for real, Tom? Explain.
I'm about to tell you, Shane. The reason why, not just because of their record, but the Boston College game and the New Hampshire game, 2 impressive victories for the Bobcats this past week. And the way that they're playing right now with all of the offensive weapons that they have, Kelly Babstock, Morgan Fritz Ward, Emma Woods, just to name a few of them, This team is really stacked on the offensive end, and they're doing everything right for this team. And also, you cannot forget to mention Chelsea Layden in goal. 0.95 goals against average so far this season. She's been stellar in the goal for the Bobcats. My only concern with this team moving forward is how are they going to do against tough ECAC competition? What I mean by that is against second place Harvard and first place Cornell.
Tom, it's not just about the two teams that are above them. Yes, they're playing well. Shane, they are for real, but you look down the schedule. This weekend they play St. Lawrence and Clarkson. Tuesday the 26th, they go to play Princeton. 3 teams that are just under them in the standings. If this team can go 3-0 or even 2-1 and pick up 4 points, maybe even a tie, they definitely can separate themselves from the rest of the division and just be with the upper echelon teams such as Cornell and Harvard.
Morey, I don't believe this team should be looked at like that. I think they should be looked at as the favorite in all of those games and come out with a W in every single one of those, because this team will lead the ECAC conference.
They 100% will. And Morey, if you just let me finish.
What about Cornell? What about Cornell, guys?
Well, Cornell, in the way that they've been playing so far, the one matchup that they had against the Bobcats this year, 1-1 tie in overtime. It's close game between both teams. Both teams doing very well this year. And just going back to my original point that I had, there are 2 games against Cornell and Harvard were probably the least 2 productive games that they've had so far this year, outside of the 0-0 tie that they had against Yale earlier in the season.
Shane, I have to disagree with Tom's point there. The Cornell game,
welcome,
Cheyenne Darkangelo scores a shorthanded goal, puts the Bobcats up 1-0. They dominated Cornell. Cornell has the refs make a bad call on a breakaway from the Big Red. They score a penalty shot on Chelsea Layden, questionable because she have had it or not. I thought Quinnipiac should have came away with a win, would have put them atop the conference.
And while the women's team got 4 points, so did the men's team, as they swept Harvard and Dartmouth. Even though the Bobcats have been winning games, it seems at times they're going through the motions. Did you guys see a full 60-minute effort, Morey?
I saw a full 60-minute effort. I mean, you got to expect your opponents to score on you once in a while. At least they didn't have a 3-minute meltdown like they had against Yale, where Yale scored 3 straight goals to take the lead. But I saw a 60-minute effort. Offense is playing great. Defense is playing great. Michael Gartig today, 3rd ECAC Goalie of the Week award just came out today. So Bobcats are flying high.
I don't believe this team is giving a full 60-minute effort, Morey. I tend to disagree with you on that. I believe this team can be very lackadaisical at times, often with dumping the puck in with their forecheck. I'm a big fan of Jordan Samuels-Thomas and how he's been playing so far, but you're not seeing him digging deep into those corners. And until somebody on that team gets him fired up, then I can expect this team to possibly get some losses coming up.
Well, I have to completely agree with Justin's point. The way that the team played against Harvard, and Rand Pecknold had even said it in his press conference that was the worst performance that they've given all season. He has not seen a full 60-minute effort probably since the Yale game, because before that they had a 3-0 dominating effort against the Brown Bears. So I think since the Yale game, Quinnipiac has been sort of like you said, I like the word you said, lackadaisical, but I would say they just have not been able to really attack their opponents the way that they did earlier in the season. And since the Yale game, this has been kind of a trend that the Bobcats have been on. You're not seeing that full effort throughout the game. They may start off good, but as the game goes on, you start to see a trend where they sort of get out of the game, get their heads out of the game, and start to allow teams to get closer to them if they get an early lead.
Gentlemen, you can't expect 60 solid minutes and no goals.
No, you can't.
This team has, since their first loss of the year and their first game in Alaska, 12 straight games they've been unbeaten, and just they've been playing great regardless of what you guys said.
But Morey, what about that power play? 14 of 72 on the season, just under 20%. What do you think about that so far this season?
I think they need to have structure. They need to space out the defense. They need to space out the box. This will set up passing and shooting lanes. And then it just comes down to your shots. You need to put the puck on the net. If it bounces off the goalie's chest, it falls in front, you need to have your screener there to poke it in.
Disagreed, Morey. I actually find this team to have a very well-structured power play right now. They have a very...
Justin, they're 1 for 20 in their last 20 power plays. How is that productive? That's a 5% goal scoring rate.
All right, there's still...
from the communications major.
They're still running an umbrella. It's still very well-structured. JST is still getting off his shot.
But where's the production?
Production comes from the changes that they have to make from that structure. And I'll tell you what the changes have to be. I think Kellen Jones can no longer run this power play. This power play needs to have somebody on the right side of the umbrella that can run through. They're not having that on the first power play. I think a player like Connor Clifton has to step up and move into that quarterbacking role of that umbrella, because otherwise you're not going to get very good production. And also I think you have to move Jordan Samuels-Thomas to down low in the corner, because this team needs to create traffic in front of the net. Anytime they're not creating traffic in front of the net and screening the opposing goaltender, then they're not going to score many goals, because unless there's traffic, then you're not scoring that many goals unless you get odd man rushes, which this team is not doing.
Yeah, I understand the points that you're saying, but I have to go completely with Morey on this one. Well, if you're 1 for your last 20, you've got to make some changes to the way your power play is structured. Maybe put some different players in different positions, like you mentioned, and I agree with your point there. But you need production if you're on the power play. If you're on a power play, you have the advantage for 2 whole minutes to try to score a goal and either give your team the lead or tie a team, depending upon if you're trailing. You need to have that advantage, and Jordan Samuels-Thomas finally broke that streak with his goal in the Dartmouth games to give the team a 3-0 lead. But they need to seriously attack more on the power play, attack their opponents more, and look for those good shots, because that's not what they're doing right now. And if they don't do that, they could start to see not so good results in some of the games against quality ECAC opponents.
It's not just JST. It's Matthew Pekka. He needs to improve. 2 goals, 5 assists. He has 7 points in their first 13 games. They play 36 games. Last year, he's coming off a 15-goal, 15-assist year, 30 points. He's nowhere near his production rate that he had last year.
Thanks, Morey. Thanks, guys, for the lively debate. But that's going to do it this week on Bobcat Breakdown. But continue to follow Q30 Sports for updates on everything athletics. For Justin, Tom, and Morey, I'm Shane Doyle. Good night from Hamden. See you next week.